So, hello and welcome, everyone. Today's little live session is about coaching and leadership and where the two intersect. One might say that every leader should be a coach. Pooja, is that what you think?
You stole the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I think, Martha. I think when coaching began, it was a support system. It was a skill to support leaders to be their best selves and successful leaders. But as we have evolved and as the profession has evolved, it is today one. So, leader as coach and coach as leader. I think it is the most important and emerging successful trait of a leader is to be a coach. So
Eh,
I'll stop there.
Yeah, our work here is done. So, Pooja, I'm very interested to kind of hear first maybe about your background that has led you to this conclusion because you practice what you preach, I think, and you interact with coaches and future coaches as well as leaders. So tell us a bit about your background that has led you to this conclusion.
Yeah, that's generally when you're asked that question, you go straight at your background. But I like the lens you're putting on it. Coming from this leadership lens. So I'll just tell you very quickly that about 12 years ago, I decided to pursue my full-time coaching role. And while earlier I used to be doing other work together with coaching as a skill, I decided I shall go full time as a coach. I got into a full time role as a career transition consultant in my present job, which then began as that. And interestingly, when I asked my interviewers and and then to become managers as to what made them choose me as the most successful candidate, they said because I was walking the talk of the transition piece that was required for the job, not just the coaching skill. And that set me thinking that as coaches, don't we all know that we are the role models? We are as good in our coaching as who we are as coaches. The two cannot be segregated. And that's where that flip happened in my mind, that it is not just about who I am as a coach, but what I become as a leader. And the two are the same. And from there, I began my journey. And today, I lead the function for career retention, navigation, transition at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. And it is over a period, this whole evolution, that from a coach to become a leader who is present as a coach. I will, point noted to myself, not say as a leader who uses coaching skills, but I would say a leader who is present as a coach.
Okay, that's an interesting distinction. So when I was thinking about this whole concept of um, coaching and being a coach and being a leader and leadership, I started thinking back to the previous roles that I've held. And,
Mhm.
you know, putting that lens of had I been a coach, maybe first or in addition to a leader, I think I would have gotten more out of the team. And I think we would have had more success, frankly. So there's just certain coaching competencies that really came to my mind as I wish I had known these. And when you look at this coach and leader being, this, if not this even,
Yes.
are there, other than, the presence you just mentioned, what are specific traits that a leader who is a coach exhibits that a leader who is not a coach does not?
Oh, great question, Martha, because as a leader who is committed to inspiring people, it and seeing the potential in people and the processes, coaching enables you to first understand yourself. That self awareness is by far the foundation. We call it, in terms of competencies, coaching mindset. I would say it is self awareness, and it is who we are and how we would want to be treated is how we treat others. So that mindset is one of the foundations of learning how to coach and therefore become a successful leader. So I'll begin from there and say that qualities such as compassion, courage, curiosity, these become the foundations of a leader and therefore learned via coaching. So within coaching as a skill, when we begin and set the foundations of coaching, we enable people to, and I think your little one is agreeing as well.
Yeah.
See, at all levels, at all
By
levels.
little one, she means dog. I'll go on mute.
Oh, no, 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 no. Your dog is agreeing with me as well. So there you go. Equine coaching, where you have coaching with horses, but I won't get into all of that. So, to back to your question, the fundamentals would be compassion, curiosity, and courage. Don't leaders require courage? And courage is the other form of coaching, because you're working through an intuition, you're working about the person and not the problem at hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. And the word that's coming into my mind, which I didn't think it was going to in the context of leadership, is vulnerability. Because all of those things would not be possible if you didn't have the self awareness and you didn't have the vulnerability to be yourself. Um,
You
yeah.
hit the you hit the word on its head. Yeah, I was hoping it comes out from others rather than me saying it, and you absolutely hit it. It is that vulnerability to, and unless we don't have that, we cannot see that, we cannot support even innovations, because to err is human. And if we don't make mistakes, successes, stand on failures. Those are the pillars. If there is success everywhere, all sunshine makes a desert. So we cannot have successes if you don't have failures. And if you don't have leaders who support failures and innovation, there will be no successful leader, because it is about inspiring people and coaching is about inspiring people. So
Hmm.
the two definitions are mirroring each other. And that's why I say, you say coach or you say leader, they are similar words.
So I'm just thinking about the different kinds of leadership. And maybe I hate using the word levels, but the reality is that organizations have hierarchies and there are levels of leaderships within organizations. And I'm wondering, what do you think about this approach of leader as coach or coach and leader? What do you think of that in the different levels? Is this something that's reserved to kind of the higher levels of leadership, or can this be applied even down to a team level?
Absolutely not. It should be taught in every business school that creates leaders. So, right from your early career as a leader, it is a fundamental trait for success. Fundamental trait for success as a leader is the ability to coach. When we begin coaching, it is about the skill of coaching. As we grow, it becomes a communication style. So, coaching is really a style of thought, it is how we show up in our compassion, in our curiosity, in our courage. Like you said, in our total vulnerability. So, as an early leader to a matured leader, at all levels, we have different levels of maturity in coaching as well. So, I believe it needs to be taught at within business schools and wherever leadership skills are being taught.
I totally agree with you. And, I had great experience in my business school, although I did have a lot of fun, maybe too much, some might say. Hey, but even though I went to a really good business school and the program was amazing, frankly, we didn't learn coaching. We were coached, So I know that the school recognized that coaching was important because I received it. But yeah, we didn't learn how to do that to others. And yes, it was 15 years ago now. So time flies.
So
And
there
I
you go.
wonder,
It's
yeah.
that flip. Because 15 years ago, when coaching began as a profession, 25 years ago, it was about bringing out the best in others. So we only used it as like a spade that dug in the soil and fertilized the soil. But as we have matured within the profession itself, today I would stand up and say the two become the same. It's not a spade for the ground, but it is the ground itself. And you have just said that within business schools as well, we have to flip it and ask our budding leaders to be present as coaches, because as coaches we look at the person and not just the problem, to look at processes and people. And that's what leadership is: inspiring and bringing the potential out of people is what leadership is. And that's the best way of utilizing a coaching skill, or vice versa.
I love that. But I can also hear, a skeptical person thinking that, okay, well,
Absolutely.
leadership isn't always only about, it's not only about inspiring, right? Leadership also has to deal with the not so great stuff when you have a team. So how do you reconcile that, especially when there's performance issues or someone just not understanding something? I mean, a leader can't always be this warm, lovely coach who is, listening and caring. At the end of the day, the leader is also accountable for whatever they're accountable for. So how does that reconcile with this coach approach?
Beautiful question. Because as leaders, you're so correct. We are responsible for the business outcomes of the organization that we belong to. So there is, quote unquote, an agenda that a leader comes with. I would say, again, to stir the pot and add controversy, coaching is about bringing two agendas together, because it is about partnering. When we partner, yes, again, the old school of thought around coaching is that we are unconditionally present for our client. And that is one sustained version of coaching. When we start looking as leader as coach, we look at the model of pure partnering. And partnering is when two agendas come together. Leader, as you said, has a responsibility of a business outcome. When they come in with that agenda and look at the employee, and an employee's so-called agenda is their career, is their performance, how do the two come together is through a compassionate, courageous, and a curious conversation. Because how do we then negotiate to bring the two? I'm using, business language, because it is about flipping what we do in pure coaching into our business world and saying we need to partner. We need to come in our authentic selves to say, as a leader, performance is what I need, and for the employee it is career is what they need, out of the same conversation. So the two conversations are already ready to partner. So partnering for a purpose where the two purposes become different, and yet we come together to create a common ground of creating possibilities that are then practiced. Because no one possibility, that's where innovation happens. Your career versus my performance as a leader. I need a high performing team, you need your career to be at its best. Let's come together and figure this out. In fact, I'll take it to another level, and hopefully that's what was on your mind. Even when performance, and for a leader and for the employee, things are not working, how do you transition? Coaching is again the best form. It's a communication style, it isn't a skill. So it is a communication where it is a win win. You win because this place, this job, this role is no longer serving you, and it isn't serving the organization. And it is that realization. If we believe that is just not serving one, but is serving the other, we are incorrect. That assumption itself is incorrect.
There's so much gold in what you just said about partnering for purpose, creating possibilities. And, I'd argue that it's a win-win-win, not just a win-win, because it's when it comes to a work situation, you have the leader, the person, and the company, right? Perhaps also the team. Like there's so many different wins that you can have when these things are working together and the partnership really happens. So I really love that. Um,
May I pause you on this?
yeah,
Let's flip it. Employee as a coach. Let's just flip it. Because an employee is also leader of sorts. They are managing up, aren't they? And of
yeah.
course, they may be managing their own teams. So if you look as an employee, leader, a coaching skill helps you manage up, helps you to enable that partnership, because partnership is again two to tango.
Yeah.
So I would even go to the extent of saying for every employee who wishes to grow or who is leading the subject matter that they are entrusted to, needs to have show up as a coach, not have the skill of a coach, but show up as a coach.
That's a great distinction. Show up as a coach versus the skill of a coach, because a lot of times, as coach area, we do get quite a bit of corporates coming to us, and they have different goals, of course. And some people come at it with, I want to create a bunch of coaches. Others come in and say, oh, we want the coaching skills. And you're talking about the mindset and you're talking about the communication style, which is something that I dare say is a little bit easier to achieve on a larger scale than a full-on coach with all the skills that a coach needs. So it's almost more digestible, and it just feels like more achievable than let's everybody be a coach.
Yeah, and you're right, because when organizations come in with that request, it is more of that systemic piece that they are looking at. And I would say that yes, there is a lot of advantage to create coaches, because those become those confidential spaces where you are inhibited to create one's own new world. So there is a lot of validity in having pure coaches available for coaching. And then it is about leaders and employees showing up as coaches, because every conversation needs to become a coach like conversation. And that creates coaching cultures, because you're changing the very mindset, as you said, changing the very way we show up. So, changing a culture. So, what does a coaching culture even mean? And that's what we want to talk about as leaders. It's a coaching culture. It is how we choose to honor the people behind the work that is done. And it isn't just about getting the work done.
I've said it like 10 times in this conversation, but I love that so much. I mean, I thought that I had clarity around this subject, but I realized that I didn't, but now I do. So it's thank you so much, Pooja, for really simply and easily explaining how coaching, or sorry, the coaching mindset, coaching as communication, the leader coach can be present in an organization. I just think it's such a profound potential change that would, yeah, bring about coaching culture in organizations, which then leads to happier employees. It leads to better performance,
And happier
which leads to
leaders
better,
as well.
exactly, and to better, to bigger bottom line. So it's there's not a losing proposition in here, is there?
Yeah, and I would say that maybe there is value to create this climax and probably leave it there, because come over to our foundations, and we set those roots. We set those roots about how do you do it, then be it, and then become it. That's what we would in our so-called business schools, because that's what our business school is, isn't it? We
It
are
is.
creating leaders of tomorrow.
You are
So,
so right.
so maybe, I don't know. What do you think? There is a climax here in this conversation. Do you want to leave everyone with this climax, or what?
No, I think it's a good idea. Let's do that. But I think you and I need to revisit another session and talk about this a bit more detail because it's a fascinating topic. And I think if more organizations and more leaders within organizations saw this value, um, I don't know, just we can make a lot of impact.
Yeah,
So thank you so much, Pooja. This was wonderful. And to everyone who is watching, Pooja is not only a leader and a coach leader and a leader coach. She's also one of our lovely, amazing faculty members at Coacharia. And she does teach this stuff because she's so good at it. So Pooja runs regular coaching foundation programs, her next one starting next month. And while coaching foundation at Coacharia teaches you all of this great coaching stuff, with Pooja, you also get that additional lens of organizational impact and leadership because that's the space where she operates in day to day. So if you're watching this and you're in a corporate setting, especially, I encourage you to consider training with Pooja. But if you are considering learning coaching skills, and you work anywhere or don't work. Honestly, we have a program for that because we believe at Kosharia that anyone can be a coach and a leader. And we are here to prove it because we believe in you, people of the world.
that's right. Thank you, Magda. Thank you too. Let's go and change the world and make happier leaders.
Love
Let's
it.
press. Yeah. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Pooja. And thanks everyone for joining us. See you here on Thursday, same time. Bye.
Bye.